Welcome to One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, where we get curious about what makes us tick. We're here today with someone whose current position isn't easily explained by their past experiences, yet she thrives nonetheless. Welcome, Monica Gaisie.
Hi, Ian.
It's great to actually meet and talk at
Yes.
last.
So, how many months? Over years.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what COVID does for you
Yeah,
sometimes.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
The missing part of life.
Yeah. So to get us going then, Monica, just tell us about what you do now.
So at the moment, I am mum to a lovely nearly 10-year-old. I care for my mum and I am a life coach.
Okay,
as
great.
Well. Building my business as a life coach. I certified in 2020. I'm looking at you like you know when I certified.
Yeah.
I certify you.
I don't have the answers here, but no, that's right.
So I certified in 2020, just as the pandemic was kicking off, and made the decision then to just go with it. I was like, let's do it. I was made redundant from my job at the time due to COVID, and that's what I've been doing ever since. And I don't look back. I think this is me set for life now.
Brilliant, yeah. So I know that there's a not straightforward route to how you got there. So why don't we go on that journey? Take us back and just explain how did you get to being a life coach as you are now?
Okay, so I think deep down somewhere there was always a desire to do something like Oprah did. Right? So I used to Oprah on TV with all her friends, her guests that would come on, and I'm kind of like, that's what I want to do. Like they got the key to life, they've got it right. So that's what I wanted to do. And then it gets forgotten when you get caught up with life and careers, etc., etc. And coming from first gen migrant African family, it was all about you'll be a lawyer, you'll be a doctor, you'll be something of status. And so you get caught up in all of that. And so I, after school, thought I wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
And then I didn't quite get the grades in science, so I went to college and did business studies, English, psychology. After that, I was like, actually, I don't know what I want to do. No, I did actually. I'd tell a lie. I remember sitting in the car with my dad, and we're at the crossroads at Goodmays, and he was like, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "I want to be a civil engineer." And he said, "That's no job for a girl." And then that totally threw me.
Wow.
And so, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So after college, it was uni, because I have to go uni. And I went for criminology.
Wow.
So I did criminology because I float sometimes. I was really into cracker.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I was really fascinated by criminal law. It's like, what makes someone want to commit a crime?
Yeah.
I was really fascinated by gangland culture, but more around the mafia, And so cracker really just spoke to me. I was like, that's what I'm going to do at uni.
I guess I should just say, for those who are listening who aren't from the UK as well, that Cracker was a detective, a private detective kind of TV series. Wasn't it?
Yeah. So he kind of tracked criminals using psychology. I don't know what the equivalent would be across the world, but and then I left. What did I do after you? I went to travel for a bit. Then I worked for a housing association.
Okay.
And then I started veering back towards my interest in the built environment, so construction, etc. And I did a postgraduate quantity surveying course.
Right. So was this a throwback to the civil engineer piece?
This was a throwback, yeah. I'd never forget.
Yeah.
Thought I had, but I never forget. And so I did a year of that, took myself away for a year's travel. And then when I came back, I thought, I'm not going to go back to the house association. I'm going to pursue construction. Because while I was traveling, I was volunteering as I did it, because I didn't want to just float around having lots of fun. Of course, I was having fun anyway, but I wanted to get into the place I was visiting. I wanted to understand the culture. I wanted to know the people. And so I volunteered while I was travelling.
And where did you go to? Where did you get to on your travels?
I did two volunteer projects in Ghana, one in Uganda, and then I went to India, stayed in Mumbai, had some fun in Mumbai, and then went to Nepal and did a project there. Then after that, the intention was to do a project in El Salvador, but I didn't quite make it there. I decided to come home.
Right.
So I was missing London. But I came home kind of with an understanding that it's like now or never, you know. So I was like, let's go for the construction. So I then signed up with a construction consultancy, took a pay cut to enter under their graduate program to then qualify as a QS. And then around 2008, the recessions were happening then. I left to go to Network Rail because they were doing rounds of redundancies. And at Network Rail, I just then kind of diverted to procurement.
Right.
So from post-contract to pre-contract. And my time, 9 years at Network Rail, and I exceeded my own expectations about what I could achieve there. I was lucky enough to have a manager who really, he pushed me further than I would have pushed myself. He placed me in roles. He saw more in me than I did, put it that way.
Yeah.
He knew what I was capable of, and his name's Bob. I'm forever grateful to Bob. We're still friends. We love Bob. And yeah, when Bob left Network Rail, I found myself lost because I hadn't realised how hard he was pushing me. I was just, again, floating. And yeah, I was kind of like, this place isn't really for me because the opportunities I had were because Bob was there. So that was a real kind of mind opener for me. I hadn't realised how naive I'd been in that, you know, these opportunities were always there for someone like me. So I was kind of like, I was thinking, it was a few months I was thinking about it. It's like, what does this mean for me? Where do I go? What do I do? If it wasn't for Bob, where would I be? What would my opportunities be? And it was from that thinking that I'd made the decision to leave to pursue something. In my mind, it was a social enterprise or something that would support women like me or disadvantaged women. I was never disadvantaged, but disadvantaged women into those roles that I had the opportunity to be in, because I had someone who saw beyond what I saw and believed in me. And I was like, there's women out there who need that too. So that was my step out of Network Rail.
Right. So everyone needs a Bob. Everyone
needs a Bob. I've told him that too. Everyone needs a Bob. And then Bob continued to help me out. You know, he opened more doors for me. And so, I then got a part-time job doing procurement. And in the time I wasn't working, I was mentoring for a women's charity. Because I realised I know nothing about the third sector, the charity sector. So let's go and investigate. So I was mentoring with a charity in Hackney.
Right.
And I mentored a really lovely girl through business, and I was kind of, this is my jam. This is definitely my jam. Still wasn't thinking about going for coaching, and then come COVID, just before COVID, I was stressing out a bit about my role and what was happening in where I was going with my life. You know, I need to get out of this current position, and I went onto Spotify. Found a coaching podcast, listened to 10 episodes. I was like, that's it. And that's it. And that was it. Yeah.
God, what an amazing, I mean, there's so many questions that come into mind that I'm going to ask you. So, the thing that for me that comes out of that, it really kind of hit me quite hard when, you were asked, I want to be a civil engineer. And the answer you got was, that's
for a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents, it all comes from love, of course, but they had these grand ambitions for me, because I seemed to be the academic one, to go on and be the lawyer. I said no to medicine, but it was to be the lawyer. And so for me to even talk about construction, and I was surprised at my dad as well, because I was the one who was always with him when he was doing DIY around the house. You know, that's why I love construction so much. But it's protection, I guess. It's in my mind, how are you going to find a husband if you were, you know, she's the one who would really, you know, I have to be in the kitchen, I have to be cooking, I have to be cleaning. And I remember saying to her, it's like, what's the point in sending me to uni if all I'm going to do is this anyway? You know, it's that constant battle between us. That it's cultural, and it was just, that's the path they thought I should take and exploit, and not do the construction part.
It's amazing, isn't it? I really do think that people don't realise the impact they have when they say things to other people with the very, very best will in the world. I mean, you know, brief memory. I can remember when I was going to step out of the corporate world, you know, and you know, it was, well, what are you doing leaving a secure job like that?
Yeah, you don't leave the good job.
Yeah.
You work so hard to get the good job. It's always like you're throwing it away, but no, because the value's here. You know, it's not in the job, the value's here, and that you can take anywhere and recreate it at any time. So
when you're in the life coaching space now, you've got so much there that you're drawing from. What do you now look back on that has happened to you on the way through, and how has that played out in your coaching life? Some of those must be really close to the front of your mind, some stuff that's happened.
Oh yeah. So with the coaching, you inevitably draw to you people who are similar.
Yeah.
And so from my upbringing, I suppose there's the people pleasing, perfectionism. It's this feel of that imposter syndrome, that I don't quite belong here. And then also the not being afraid to take risks. Right. That's one that if I can just really even just drop a little bit into every female that I come across, it's like, just don't be afraid to take the risk, and don't be afraid to throw away the rule book, you know.
What holds people back, do you think, from your experience so far? What stops people?
Belonging. It's the fear of upsetting the apple cart. Right. It's, who am I if I step out of this? Who am I? Who do I become? What is life? Who are my friends? You know, respectability, all that stuff, especially as women, that's kind of drip fed into you as you're growing up. But it's how you should be, how you respond to people, how you look after people, how you move through business and life. Yeah.
And you enjoy what you do now, don't you?
I love it. You tell.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It really energizes me. Being an entrepreneur is so new to me, so new. And I'm still working on getting my head out of the PAYE structure. Yeah. You know? And so even in those moments where you're kind of like, it's not working, quitting is not even an option. I don't even think I'm going to go back and nah. It's just not, because I can do it, and B, there's women out there who need me.
What do you think? I mean, thinking of that help that you can give, and thinking about what Bob did. What do you think? What was it you think that Bob enabled to happen up here and in here?
Okay, so you don't know what you got till it's gone. So in the moment when I was there and, you know, working with Bob, and I say Bob was around, Bobby's still around, but didn't really appreciate it until he was gone. And then it's those moments of reflection where I'm like, okay, I see why he did that there. And also how I relied on him. I was brave with Bob. You know, right. If ever I was stuck and I needed help in getting something through, I can go and rant.
Right.
I'd rant to him, and he had this ability to calm me. It's like, okay, so let's look at it another way. He's brilliant like that. And so what Bob enabled me to see was that be present, slow down enough to be present, slow down enough not to take things so personally as well. Because one thing he's brilliant at is, what does the customer need?
Right.
What does the client need? And I can do that.
Right.
Yeah. He actually highlighted in me and to me that my stakeholders management skills. You can go talk to people. He'd be like, go talk to them, go get that deal, go do negotiation. He didn't give me a chance to be like, I can't just go and do it. Yeah. And so all of that definitely just, in a very nice way, brought it out of me.
So he was really giving you the opportunity to develop your belief in yourself then, wasn't he?
All the time. And then he was always there when I needed him to be. You know, I was like, Bob, I need to chat. Yeah, okay. Put date diary.
That's brilliant.
And it's pick up the phone. Can you believe that? Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's brilliant. Yeah. And so when you're now working with clients, when you're working with people in the coaching space, that affects, you're now starting to do that for other people then, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is a real honour to be able to, this is how it goes. So the way I see it is like, I've got this board with the person I see, and the person they want to be is the person I see, and I'm constantly holding it there so they can bring whatever they want to bring to me in that session. I can't, it's hard, I don't believe it, why is that happening? And I could be like, it's okay, nothing's gone wrong, that person is still there. You know, so it's all about untangling all that stuff, helping them sift through the weeds to be able to glimpse those moments of magic that they actually have within them, because a lot of the time we think it comes from external and what other people think about us, but actually no, it's already there. So I want to hold this here for as long as you want me to hold it to, until we get to that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes back, I use the comparison of the basketball to the golf ball. You know, we carry so much baggage, don't we, in our past experience. I forget whose quote it was. It could even have been in a song about sometimes we get in our own way, and this is it, isn't it?
We do. We do a lot of the time. We don't realise.
Yeah, I mean, let alone other people getting in our way. Yeah, we get in our way.
We get in our way a lot. Talking from personal experience, a lot. And so being able to do that for someone is great. And the magic's always within. I don't have to say anything really. You know, I'm poking with questions. I'm really kind of like, but why? That's interesting. Where else does it show up? And all this stuff. And I watch people's minds literally like, oh. Yeah, every time it's great.
It's like you can almost picture cogs moving in the head, can't you?
Absolutely. And then when things start to fit, and they just start to feel different. They don't understand why, but they start to feel different. And it's like just being the magic. You know, it doesn't always have to be a logical explanation. That's also something I do a lot. Is try to make logic out of everything. And so seeing that in a client is like, let's try and let that go. Because sometimes you just want to ride that wave and it'll get you to where you want to be. But trying to control everything is creating that resistance within you, like you're saying, and that's what's getting in the way. That's what's really holding you back.
There was a guy who I still knew, and he was explaining to me how he was explaining to a room full of people who were, I think they were sort of homeless people and sort of people who had challenges, and he was presenting and talking to them about mindset and behaviour, that kind of thing. And at the end of it, I should always remember what he said to me. He said, one guy, he said, and he was the type of guy that you didn't feel that you want to meet in the street at night. stopped behind and said to him, "You've given me a real problem." And he thought, "Oh no." And he says, but what came next has always stuck with him. He says, "You've taken all my excuses away." And that's what you're talking about here,
That's
isn't
the
it?
scariest thing. That is, absolutely. That is the scariest thing. When I did my coaching certification, what you talk about, change one thought at a time, is like what you think you will then make real.
Yeah.
And so when that really lands with you, and you're like, I hold all the power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it's like, there were times where I've been frozen with it, and it's like, I don't know where to go next, because there's just so many options, so many permutations of how things can turn out. And that's exactly it. It's like when you remove the excuses, it's all on you. And and we haven't been trained, we haven't been brought up to do that.
No.
We honestly haven't. And so it's like a rebirth.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, isn't it?
Like learning to walk again.
But when you think about it, and you go back to your early experience, your family experiences, your frame of reference is that stereotypical conditioned environment that you're working in.
Mm-hmm.
So and that and as you said, it's through love in a lot of cases, but we build this limiting framework, don't we?
Absolutely. Which that's one of my missions, is to then just undo all this generational conditioning. Say, like, I'll never forget the time I got my older sister lives in Canada. She's got 3 kids, and when it was time for my niece to decide what she was going to do after school, I had a conversation with her, and I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about going to uni. No, to go to uni. You can do whatever you want. Uni will always be there." When my sister found out. Did I get it? But then, prior to coaching, I guess I've always been doing that. It's like, no, this isn't how it has to be. We're capable of so much more.
Yeah.
We belong in different places. We belong in all the places, put it that way. This isn't just the one way that we are meant to exist. This isn't just the one way that we are set for life. Because I'm talking about the African Ghanaian community. It's so full of life, and it's so vibrant. Even to when you look at industry, entrepreneurialism in Ghana, it's mostly women.
Right, really?
It's mostly women who are out there making the money. They're the industrious ones. They're thinking, how am I going to provide for my family? It is mostly women. But then when you leave and you come somewhere, we come to the West, almost like you then contain yourself, like you've got to be seen as some kind of respectable.
Yeah.
And that really does harm progress, I think, because then you're constantly second guessing and thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I being perceived as respectable? And it inevitably shuts you down, because then you're afraid to speak up. And so going back to the Bob question again, is that safety Bob gave me to be able to be like, I don't like this. This needs to be different. And he gave me the space, he gave me the forum to do that.
It's interesting, how I dream of a time where there are enough people who understand this, that people have happier lives, and they get out of their own way. I think that's why I'm always fascinated to talk about people who like yourself as well, who have discovered this. There just needs to be, how do we get that message out there?
How do we get that message out there? So since George Floyd, there's definitely been an opening up of the dialogue. And I think that's what definitely needs to continue. That, along with care. So when I say care, I mean talking to people, females, males, of colour. A lot of the time when it comes to this kind of dialogue and making it happen, it's them alone who's forcing it, but driving it through organisations. And what is lacking there is the care, because it's more like it becomes another job role.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of stress that comes with it, because, as I said, you're dealing with your own upbringing, your own culture stuff. So being able to speak out, again, I can only speak coming from an African family, we're not supposed to speak out against authority. You know, but then when you're in that position, you're then telling authority about what it is a diverse organisation really looks and feels like. How able are you to do that, really? You know, so it's that two-way street, because the authority will inevitably be white mostly, and that's what comes from that term of white privilege, but that's thinking you don't have to do. Yeah. And so that's the gap, really, that we need to bridge. It's like, can you really then sit down like this and let's have that real honest conversation where it's not about attacking people, but it's asking people to really consider what goes through the mind on the other side.
Yeah, because even that, you can't escape conditioning of family and environment, can you? Because it's, you know, we sometimes say, oh yes, you just need to take a moment to see it from the other person's point of view, but that can be really hard, because if you have no idea what that other point of view is, it's difficult to look at it
exactly.
From that point of view.
It's like, oh, but what do you mean? Of course you can speak up. Yeah.
No,
because physically, you know, it's then like that drip, drip, drip. It then becomes real physical. So you have the thought, and then that's that feeling like, oh my God, what's going to happen? There's a fear. And so that's the part I think people are like, well, what are you talking about? Of course you can speak up, because you've always been able to speak up. But from a child, I've not been able to speak up. So it's those little nuances that,
So we've talked a lot about how you got to here and what's gone, but I now want to, let's now gaze forward. What's next? What future memories? When we, you know, if we sit together in, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, what will we be talking about then? What will you have done?
So it's a really good question. Conquered the world. So no, I have a financial goal, and so my financial goal is to be turning over 500k in my business in 3 years. I have to be very careful when I say this as a female. It's not about the money. It is about the money, but then it's not about the money, because 500,000 per year is thousands of women that I'm supporting and coaching somehow, probably programs, masterminds, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so it's definitely me growing my business. Right. Really, that's all I can see. I've always harboured, you know, dreams of living somewhere else and travelling more and all that kind of stuff, and that of course will happen. But I think that really is my focus. Yeah. At the moment, is making that happen. So
the numbers is really a representation of the task that you see.
Yeah, of the lives that I'm touching. Yeah. So that's just being able to put a tangible target on it. Really. That's. It's kind of like my future. I really want a big house, like a 4-bedroom house with a garden. Yeah, because I live in a flat at the moment. Right. That overlooks a park. Yeah. So just some more rooms would be nice, yeah.
That has been a brilliant episode. I can't wait to do this again and carry on the conversation. So thanks, Monica, very, very much for being here today.
You're welcome. Yeah, you get twice of me.
Yeah.
I get two of you.
This has been One Thought at a Time with Ian Travers, and on this episode, Monica Gaisie. If you've enjoyed the conversation and want to reach out to Monica or myself, you'll find all the information in the comments of this episode. If you'd like to join more conversations and listen to some more, please like and subscribe. And we look forward to you joining us next time. Thanks very much.